Okay, let's do this. It's 9:21 in the morning. It's the 20th day of October in the year 2023. It is 72 degrees and sunny. The weather is playing hopscotch with my migraines. And this was just put out. Actually, I think it was actually out yesterday, but this is the first time I'm seeing it. The sneak peek for A Deck of Many Things. Oh boy. The amount of controversy and nonsense associated, which could have been a harmless product and completely unnecessary product. Now, it's looking like it's going to cost $100, if not more, if you want the full thing with the book and the slipcase and the deck of cards and whatever this is. Which, of course, reaches the very first question. What if I don't want the thing? What if I don't want the deck of cards? I can still use a normal deck of cards, right? That was the whole thing about the Deck of Many Things, is you didn't need a special product. Gygax assumed everybody had a deck of cards. Now, you will notice through the sneak peek, it repeatedly mentions that it appeared in the Dungeon Master's Guide since 1979, appearing in Greyhawk, and at least this reviewer, acknowledges that Gygax created it, and it's been around since 1979. So all that BS that Mackenzie's character was the individual who created the Deck of Many Things for the very first time, well, no, because here is the proof saying, no, it's been around since before you were born, Mackenzie. So maybe you helped create the Deck of Many Things that appears in this book because there's more than one, but you didn't create the Deck of Many Things. And had Mackenzie just phrased things slightly differently, we probably wouldn't have the wheelbarrow of negativity going into this mostly unnecessary product, especially with 2024 D&D coming out. And we don't know what's going to change, making this kind of like, well, why buy it now if you're going to change it in 2024? I kind of want to see what the 2024 write-up of the Deck of Many Things looks like in the Dungeon Master's Guide. Unless, of course, you completely don't put it in the Dungeon Master's Guide and say, okay, if you want to get the Deck of Many Things, you got to buy this thing and you got to pay the $100 plus. But what if I don't want to? What if I just want this and use just a normal rule thing of cards? Can't I still do that? Well, let's take a look at what the blah, 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 blah says. And again, you notice who's not mentioned anywhere in here, or not even pictures of her, is the individual who claims they invented it for the very first time. The very first canonically autistic character in the history of the game, as long as you don't count all the other canonically autistic characters here in the games. Mackenzie, no picture of Mackenzie, and very few mentions of Mackenzie, which is probably a smart thing to do, Wizards of the Coast. Mackenzie should probably be shuffled to the bottom of the pile, much the same way Kyle Brink was, and go through this is how you do not address the public and the news in a hostile, condescending manner like you did with all the interviews about the Deck of Many Things. So what's in the deck? Okay, it's the new deck. It's way more chaotic and not as harmful as the original deck was. It's much more about like, oh, look, you get a free baby dragon. 44 new cards, adding into the 22 new cards. The mechanical effects have been changed. Talking about how, one of them gives you a wormling you have to take care of. More variety of effectives. Let's see. It ramps up to chaos, assuming you're going to give it out there. Changes the cards. Like, remember, the old card Flames said that a powerful evil being became enemies with your character and that you drew their attention. Well, now it's like you get 3 powerful evil beings where you can ramp them up and decide how they're going to affect the player character's lives forward. Of course, that would be that there's now evil beings against in D&D, and even though we know that alignment no longer exists because no one is inherently evil in D&D. Unless, of course, you counter in the fact that all throughout the current Planescape, there's mentions of alignment. So yeah, it's just basically the cards are less, the cards are more concrete in what they actually do. And it seems to be a lot less harmful and a lot more goofy. And a lot of narrative stuff, a lot of prophecy stuff, a lot of, fate stuff. There's a cult dedicated to the thing now, a whole adventure site dedicated to the deck of many things. I guess that means now you can buy them. There's even a card collector here. Look at this guy will buy and trade you deck of many thing cards, like a card collector at a Magic the Gathering thing. New player options, new backgrounds, new characters, new monsters. You could make an entire campaign over drawing from the deck of many things. Just give them the deck of many things at the start and let them draw from it throughout the adventure. Each card making the adventure happen. Challenges. $99.99, but there's also going to be an alternative print copy version, which would be even more. What about will there be a PDF? I don't want to give you $100. Again, the great thing about the original deck of many things is you didn't need anything special. Gygax assumed everybody had a deck of cards. And every iteration of the deck idea since then has been, well, I assume you probably have a deck of cards, and if not, you can get one. So here's the rules built around a deck of cards. And when people added more cards to the deck of many things, they just like, okay, the 3 of clubs does this. And I just changed the name, or tarot cards or whatever. So that's the question here, which I'm looking for is, can I still use a normal card deck? Or do I have to buy this? Does it have the conversion that the old one does? And I don't see anything that... Okay, here's one. This guy's saying, hey, this is the very first time you can use a prop in D&D, like the deck cards. Isn't it cool that we're making these really expensive cards available? Because, you've never been able to do that. Like no other set of Magic items in D&D, you can really use a prop so easily and as well as a deck of cards. Isn't it great? This is no. Okay, first off, Etsy artists have been making deck of many things for as long as there's been deck of many things. And second, you could use a normal deck of cards, dude. It's not the first time. Again, over and over mentions of it's more chaotic and less destructive. You can amp up or amp down. You can even build a whole adventure campaign around it. First level character gets their hands on a deck of many things. Draw the first card. That's how the adventure starts. And then just every time things spiral down, you draw another card. I actually kind of like that idea. I don't know if it has playable. But again, the big question is, can I use a normal deck of cards or do I have to buy this? Can I just buy the PDF from D&D Beyond and a normal deck of cards? And I'm looking through this. And yeah, I'm not seeing it. A lot of mentions of this Tando person and very few mentions of DMs. So it does feel like they're kind of shuffling her to the bottom of the deck, so to speak, and focusing more on the other creators because of the, the very condescending, insulting statements that she made coming out, being very, I created the deck and, I'm the first canonical autistic character in the history of the game. Me. And, some people are like, you go, girl, champion. But most of us are going, yeah, whoa, that is just a press disaster. That is just a way to generate bad press and make you, yeah. So some random tables. Yeah. All right. So, yeah, there we go. It's they are really pushing this I mean, the ink isn't even dry on Planescape yet, and already they're like, hey, look, don't forget, we got this thing coming out for the end of the year. This is how we're ending our year. This is how we're ending 5e. This is the product that you're going to remember as the final 2014 to 2024 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons product, an entire 192-page book about a magic item. And an individual who went around saying she made the magic item for the very first time, and she was the first canonical autistic character in the history of D&D. Even though the article writer makes sure to point out that no, the deck's been around since 1975, and Gygax made the deck. I am hoping that in the rules, you can still do the, I don't want have the weird deck of cards. I can use a normal deck of cards because that's what I've got laying around. Because otherwise, they're just basically saying you got to buy the physical product. Sure, the PDF and D&D Beyond will have the cards, I guess, but you got to print them out and you got to put them on cardboard. And wouldn't it just be easier to spend the $100 and get the physical thing and you get the cards? And this goes back to how we were saying, yes, Wizards is still going to make physical books. It's just going to be these things, okay? More and more stuff like this. The slip cover, deluxe super duper chromium insert Half-Life 2000 uranium stuff, because then they can justify charging you $100. I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe there's a market. I don't think so. There's already so many Deck of Many things out there on Etsy you can get. It's been floating around forever. Don't really need a brand new one. There's so many alternate rules for the Deck of Many things that are already out, including Paizo's Haro deck and several other deck of things people have made out over the years, that this sort of feels like $100 Christmas gift thingy that, most people won't even use. I mean, how often does a Deck of Many things show up in D&D games anyways? But through plenty where it never showed up. So I don't know. I don't know why they picked this. I don't know what they were thinking. I mean, and then I don't know if they're thinking letting Mackenzie come out and just say the things she said without, some type of supervision. It is kind of telling, though, that they didn't interview her, and she doesn't show up anywhere in the article. Instead, it's this Tando guy, other than copying and pasting things she already said from the past. I guess Tando could be a girl, too. So run, don't walk to your friendly local game store and pick up a copy of this. Yes, the Wizards of the Coast fire and forget theory. Yeah, geez. I mean, not only do they fire forget, it's like the thing no longer exists. Planescape came out, and there's no mention of Radiant Citadel or Barovia or Ravenloft or Witchlight. It's like they don't exist anymore. If it's not right in front of Crawford, it doesn't exist. That way he can say things like, it's the very first time. And that's why, Tando person can say, this is the very first time in the history of the game we have a physical product you could use. Nobody before in the 50 years ever thought to use a deck of cards with a Deck of Many things. It wasn't specifically written. There's not those tons of pamphlets called How to Use the Deck of Many Things that have been floating around the tabletop role-playing game Cosmosphere forever. Nope. Very first time. Because if it's not directly in front of me, it doesn't exist. D&D has no history other than what's directly in front of me. Example, no adventures in the Witchlight after Witchlight. Not even any mention of Witchlight in Planescape. So, yeah, forgive my sarcasm, but yeah, I don't know. This is not the object product you want people to associate with the end of 5e. No matter what is happening in 2024, no matter what we're saying, 5e is over. It's a brand new game. 5e, 5.1, whatever you want to call it. constantly referring to it as D&D 2014, and then constantly referring to the new stuff as D&D 2024, and constantly saying things like, oh, it was all about Planescape always. And, like, oh, yeah, nothing before 2014 mattered. And now saying things like, oh, well, nothing before 2024 really matters because we're probably going to reprint everything anyways. And all the world building we've done, well, we're starting brand new worlds. If you look at the list on Planescape, if you look at the list, there's no mention of Ravenloft. There's no mention of Theros. There's no mention of Ravinica. There's not even mention of the Elemental Planes. So this is what's going to be the product that ends 2014 through 2024 D&D. This is what they're going to say. Here is the mark where 5e as you know it ended. I mean, you could say 5e as you know it ended with Tasha's, but I mean, yeah, this is it. The anniversary coming up is going to be starting with, well, we don't know, but it looks like maybe this. I would just tell you guys, go to any place that has a deck of cards, pick up a deck of cards for whatever is $2.90, download a list, any one of the hundreds of lists of Deck of Many Things alternatives out there, and just use that. All right, that's it. Talk to y'all later. Have a great morning.